executives, Senate, and the National Assembly, altogether in the body of the House of Rep. The Speaker, the President of Finland, the Senate President, and the members of the executives, of which are Defense, Armed Force, Sea Force, and the Land Troops. With any body of the defense are up to 250 divisions, including Department of Organizing. I'm happy at this moment to remind you all, citizens of heaven, citizens on earth, and citizens of hell, where I would end up if I continue to hear all the sounds in my head, and of which I cannot deny them to be announced, so that they don't think they are hiding somewhere on the planet as demons, nuisance, terrorists, torturers, heresies members, witches and wizards, to cut it short. Treasure. Their father Buhari, the goes around town, distracting their attentions in the federal government, is now of no respect. Fluzy words around town, and those who follows him there and there are now won the last time. In this aspect, I open the floor and remark on what this week, third day, actually today is Wednesday, the fourth day, is the day of G2, the relationship between the Zamonas, those are the ancient royal body of Africa, and the British, the ancient royal body of UK. God created Wednesdays, whether it falls on the third day, whether it now falls on the fourth day, we must claim that promise. That promise to tackle this one that keep me in hellfire as a citizen, who now imposed to rule the world as a president. In 1 second, in a click up, they are all dead. That I can tell them the peace and grace I have according to the book of Peter. Nevertheless, hear the word which the Lord speaks unto you, O house of Israel. And this house of Israel are of 1 billion of them on earth today. The most successful one of them will pop up, unlike that one of 1948, May 5, that triggered themselves to exist in the land of the Palestinians, and that of a fluzy one surviving in the region of Jordan, that a strong wind, an evil wind from the north will arrest it in the near future due to the demons that cause me to head their civilizations or citizenship of hellfire. At this junction, it's never new on earth. Psalm 104 verses 2-4. O Lord, how manifold are thy works in wisdom, and thou made them all, the earth is full of thy riches. In holiness and fear of God, we can reach this most important thing there. Are within riches, wisdom, manifold, works, O Lord. All this one today in conjunction had brought us to this so far. And how beautiful on the mountain are the feet of those who bring good news, who proclaim peace, who bring good tidings, who proclaim salvation, who says to Zion, your God reigneth. On this third day, fourth day, previous third day and fourth day, where we claim a promise, we still look more in time to review that in the 8th week, third day, when a political body had to stop their campaign and make a end of rally, won an election on this mainland. And they went on that an end came where we look at in the transition when everybody's certificate expires. Draw the attention of the rest of the world to an holiday and then a resignation of majority, and then brings them to pension that I can enroll nothing less than a 1.2 million people annually to work within my own capacity. And when that is done within this holiday, I will give chances to strategic region. But first, from this P1 plus, it's such an honor that all those who are now calling us into their bottomless pit kingdom of darkness, which they stand representatives with no fear, shall be tied out there. The word I spoke against them will continue to fight against them until it triumphs. They can't stay hungry for 40 days and 40 nights. And in total, it will be 8 days. Joe Biden is now 80 here. His certificate is expired. Buhari is 80 years. His certificate is expired. Need to go through Sodiarism and get a new certificate and securing the duties wherever they want to be postponed or however. They will make things hard for other citizens because of them both. From that end, let me now take you around. 1 Corinthians 12:13. For we were all baptized by one Spirit as to one for one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slaves or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. That is one aspect of it. But before I move on to the other end, let me remind you that 2 Samuel is coming up within 2022 and 2023, where they need to understand their own 32. From the region of San Francisco here in Jordan, another Samuel that will become part of force for G2, G3. And that's, we will attend that in 2023, this year. After this breakthrough of 21 days of Shiloh from the very Tuesday, 14th February, 2023 downstream, March 7, Tuesday, 2023, we climbed into today, Wednesday. We discovered that those demons, they want to feed on our mathematical evaluation like they were the custodians of it. This had led us to know that demons feed on success of God. Now, we shall bring them to the presence of the Lord, that they cannot feed there, even though it will bring them liberty to get close to it. The first commandment, Exodus, talks about them. And that's where I stand. Why should Dino die when a single canopy is yet still needed at the sub-zero ground to collect 100,000 global citizens daily, weekly, to mention but few, with a total estimations of 1.2 to 1.2 million to 1.2 billion soldiers yearly? The kingdom is upon the soldiers too. From here, take a listen. The First Lady, in a few words of prophecy, after I amend or create the Constitution in my rulings, whenever your president is elected, and that's going to be the last president in Nigeria, transiting mainland gradually, left of 3 months to complete 18 fucking months since NASA and James Webb Telescope are triggered into the 5th of December 2021 that we should commence its operation, and actually marking my 18th year as the military head of state of the earth, including the moon and all its companions. That you begin to be under the rule of the majesty throughout, and you shouldn't step anywhere without the majesty be with you. You must be a politic officer having to had something to do with uniform and policy and soldierism, probably another one that is of military, or else your ballots will be lost. So to save that man is owing billions of dollars to my office.
In support of Dino, our colleague, and what happened. But what I am not in support is we should address issues. And when we begin to, not in support, what happened, but what our colleague, contributed in support of Dino, our colleague, and what happened. But what I am not in support is we should address issues. And when we begin to implicate different issues, like I remember,
so therefore, issues should not be like swag there, as I read, it's about a canopy. Now, he's from Kano, and then he resided in Kogi when we caught up. He should have shared his wealth by 2 to 3 ratio. So that's from there he aligned with the rights of a treasurer by the constitution of the continent, Africa. To one party, GOP. I think right here we lost one party, a God bless PDAPC. I think at this junction we must be able to move faster. Your Major Buhari certificate had come to an end in the last hour, bringing him to secure a soldier's certificate of 1 to 2, 3, 4 years, but at the one in the first 7 days, he might return to office. This is what he might want while from the Guaranty Trust Bank at the transformation agenda. Here is address as of the nation is one of the members of the Fifth Summit of Developing Countries.
We must also commit to helping build resilience in developing countries while also providing the needed technical as well as financial support for a just transition to renewable energy. Excellencies, we must continue to focus on how best to ensure the provision of security, education, health, and other basic services for our people in order to guarantee a prosperous future for all. I thank you for your attention.
At this point, he mentioned security, education, and I think he mentioned energy, and so on. All resources are put into consideration, and they are very most essential. And I thought he might want to stand in the way of millions of people. From where I suspected him is when he himself ignores those things from a single transformation agenda. Does he have anything that America had tried to find out from him?
You're the first leader from sub-Saharan Africa to visit President Trump here at the White House. Did you address his reported comments from earlier this year when he reportedly used vulgar language to describe African nations?
Well, I'm very careful with what the press says about others and myself. I'm not sure about the validity or whether that allegation against the president was true or not. So the best thing for me is to keep quiet.
We didn't discuss it. And you do have some countries that are in very bad shape and very tough places to live in. But we didn't discuss it because the president knows me and he knows where I'm coming from. And I appreciate that. We did not discuss it. Mr. President, you can ask a question.
From this end, you will notice that the word president was used to Buhari. The word president was used to Donald Trump. At that time, he was in office, and the other part of presidency was referred to me. And that's not just over the mainland. As I told them, I'm running, and I won. So that the Act of Similitude Presidency, Act 14, which I said it's a 2022 Act, actually triggered that the beginning of the 21 day of Shiru that ended on March 7 from the Tuesday 14th February 2023 is a spiritual journey that he himself have to hide away underneath it, but wants to from today project from the transformation agenda just by mouth and not by its working. So I think it's on a suspicious end there, was why I said his certificates had expired. He's got no certificate to continue, but it is what he can secure within 7 days. And why do you think all these folks are children in all of their analogy and mental thinking, whether Yaya Bendo, whether whatever, however you think I am depending on, they are wrong. They depend on high. Take a listen.
Of a child is a tragedy for the family, for the world, and I was in my 40s. The death of a child is a tragedy for the family, for the world, and I was in my 40s before I understood about childhood death.
I was stunned to learn that back in 1950, over 20 million children under the age of 5 would die. By the year 2000, it'd been cut in half. So it's about 9.7 million, about 10% of the children who were born. Since the year 2000, there's been unbelievable progress. We're now down to under 5 million. Of course, we'd like to get that down to be even lower. So what are those deaths? What's going on there? Overwhelmingly, it's infectious diseases, diarrhea, pneumonia, malaria. We can see here that non-communicable, that'd be things like cancer, 14%, injuries like a car crash, 4%, but infectious disease, 82%. And of course, almost all of this is preventable disease. It's in poor countries where you simply don't have the same health, nutrition that the rich world takes for granted. You might ask, how have we brought child to death down, and how can we bring it down in the future? Creating new vaccines and making sure that vaccines get out to all the children in the world. We can make sure that you actually have good sanitation, toilets, ability to wash your hands. We need much better tools, much better systems to help kids in that very first week. A birth attendant, even monitoring the baby's temperature or having the mother hold the baby to make sure it stays warm. That kind of training and early diagnosis is very important. So the world has made incredible progress in saving children's lives. And I'm confident that we'll see far more children celebrate their 5th birthday in the years ahead.
It's more or less like the Fifth Republic we are all nagging into can be transferred to the future. If they cannot do it now, they do it later. There's only one place where they can be healed, and that's to step into any of those areas that we need to step into, that I had stepped into. Commerce Grand, Low Government Council, World Royal Headquarters, police stations right here at P1 Plus and other areas like Dangote Goodwill, like the Citadel, the Garden Citadel of Learning, where a single tree of life or Galilee tree actually make it to be qualified as a citadel. And many other areas like loot, like the stadiums of all sorts, the soderism, the education, and the Oxford Headquarters University, the EFC Grant, IVO, and other hands that we had reached across. Not to forget Buckingham Palace, of which we estimate that if you are in a capacity, that's where. All these kids, they are dying, and we need to treat them. It's why I will be admitting each and every one junction there to visit Lut and ask of who is the president of Lut. That is where you, Yahoo, will be treated. What best can I say? Was it to run up by quoting Jeremiah 10 verses 1 in this 10th week of 2023 that says, "Hear ye the word which the Lord spaketh unto you, O house of Israel." Or I go this way in Psalm 104 verses 2-4 and say, "O Lord, how manifold are thy works in wisdom, and thou made them all, the heads is full of thy riches." In wisdom, you cannot ignore King Charles III. In wisdom, you cannot ignore Paul Allen, SoftBank, Bill Gates. You cannot ignore I standing strong. And you can't see any demon behind any of them. I wonder what they're doing behind my ears. And these are the reasons why they would reap what they sow. Or I just go straight here and say that First Samuel, before the Second Samuel in San Francisco, maybe there is no one holy like the Lord. There is no one beside you. There is no rock like our God. And this one is again reopening Asok inside, right in my own presence at the Kindergarten Nursery Elementary Citadel. And it's going to be a bank. All this problem are bank issues. I call that one the Hassel Rock Federal Continent Bank. which will control all the digital trades around town and pay those who use them for business. As I'm speaking to you right now, I don't want to see anybody open, if possible, a sewing machine shop or a tailoring or any sort of trade of banking, selling anything without having their own digital form of payment. They can get a desktop, a laptop, they can get a phone, a complex phone, they can get any means, they can attach everything to themselves, a fingerprint, a scanner, a reader, however. They can log in to the Bill Gates Foundation website where they can use their MasterCards freely and type in the account of the person. Just log on, download, and find it. It's called the Window of Opportunity Gate Notes. From there, you would log in and then put your email and phone numbers and all sorts. It's requesting from you. Then you're good to go. What else can I say? Seeking privilege and power. Right after Jesus had prophesied his impending death on the cross, like we had mandated to wake these children, bring a new generation, try to tell all of them that they might be sick altogether in all of the ideas and predestined statements where demons are trying to press everything into our eardrum. Allah will not allow all that. There's no amount of curses that can make a king to belong to the parts or constituency of a bottomless pit hell. Rather, with grace and peace, we shall be of this earth and of the inside. There's many things that we must understand. Diversificating the economy is one. The mother of James John brought her son before Jesus privately for a special request. She acts on their behalf for Jesus. He grants them to special status among the disciples, namely to be placed in the highest position of privilege and power. Rulers place their second in command at their right and left hand. James and John were asking Jesus to place them above their fellow disciples. This are what these kids are saying. The demons want to be introduced to the people as of the power of a specific government somewhere. When Alimoshola government controls the most spiritual hand of the world, having to be a place where hundreds of spiritual exercises were carried out, and still it lost Shiloh. Definitely, it had yearned that people better reject the demons while it's not left here, that I decide their kind of death, woto. They have scanned the home enough, they've seen enough of my anatomy, abstract projections, know much about my birth until dates. It had meant that majority of them had existed beyond 30 to 38 years. Definitely, they shall spend the same amount out there without food. Oh, we are in the length of 40 days. After 40 days, we want to see what they remain. In length, 40 years. James and John were asking Jesus to place them above their fellow disciples. This is how some people think they are so important, more than I am Bill Gates. King Charles III knew he was only exalted. He knew that his mother should still be alive. For him to put himself in the shoe of his mother when his mother should still be alive doing great things, the probably she might have resigned. But better still, my mom had resigned from Lutz after 31 years before I take up the 32nd year, as of when the 33rd year would come. Majority of people around the world will start remembering that Buhari is still on a 33-year detention somehow, nothing less than 27 years. These two disciples are most like Buhari himself and Joe Biden, who seniors themselves with 27 years. Rabbi saying, I don't take salary or wages. I demand gratuity. Don't we often do the same. When we thought that some things will yield a response, now we change the gear of acceptance into gratuity so that we can look at which side are paying this issue in dollar or in naira or in pound or in naira. They must want to be with naira. They will not want to do it without naira. We know, as in business sense, to get ahead and get the best position where we can be served first. Jesus responded by telling James and John, forgetting Peter, that they do not understand what they are really asking for. The only way one can advance in God's kingdom is by submitting one's whole life in faith and obedience to God. Jesus surrendered. Take that man down here. He will die soon. Now, let's get back on our reading. To the will of his Father, he willingly chose the Father's path to glory, a path that will lead to suffering and death, redemption, and new life. These are what we went through in the Plan A. Now in the Plan B, we have got a new life. We just started freshly. It was between the season of the MasterCard come to expire between February 28th into the beginning of March 1, the month of Nisan, where the Lent had got the first 1 week to come to an end to mark 21 days. And within those 7 days, no gratuity, nothing came in. We had not reminded them that we are shifting to the other side of the Plan B. You will hear more of Buhari advising the executives when he was at Doha concerning matters that began from a form of transformation, but his certificates had come to an end. He is not high-hammered. Definitely is got no reason to place himself ahead with any other one like Joe fathering the matter. Where thou or the 10 disciples, he knew in his 10th week why there's going to be a sentence between Joe Biden and Buhari. They are both 80-year-olds. The matter of they being sentenced already have been pronounced, what James and John had done. They were very relentless, and the rest of them will meet them in the same cage. How unfair for James and John to seek first place for themselves. Jesus called the 12 together and showed them the true and rightful purpose of seeking power and position to serve the good of others with the love and righteousness, authority without love. A love that is oriented towards the good of others easily becomes self-serving and brutish. Africa, self-serving and brutish, the United Kingdoms. We also have those things where people are hiding from the blade. But here I am at P1+. Jesus does the unthinkable. He reverses the orders and value of the world's way of thinking. If you want to be great, then become a servant of others. If you want to be first, then become a slave rather than a master. Here is P1. This is the only sovereign institution that ever exists and survived all these forms of Holocaust, treason, brutality, ignorance, genocide, hatred, name it all. Heresies, witches and wizards, torture, terrorism, it survived it all. They could not touch I. How shocking and contradictory these words must have run in the disciples' ears and in our own ears as well. Power and position are tools that can be used to serve and advance one's own interest or to serve the interest of others. In the ancient world, servants and slaves had no personal choice. Who is then the servant in the British? Who is then the servant on the side not mentioned? This is a great continent, Africa. It simians this small town called UK. Your purposing or what the purposing is just too much. I cancel your governor generalship around the world and I replace it with that of God. They are completed to serve the interests of the master and do whatever they were commanded, right from his area command. Do I stop here or take you on further? It's of no relevance. The title of the message is that you should seek privilege to power. The opportunity you have today, what will you use it to achieve? When God had spoke about you all in Crichton days, as of this, where the British and the continent will be blamed on one thing that makes no meaning, when Buhari had declared a statement that excellencies, these are things to focus on: education, energy, and so on. And these are the things we have on ground, but there's no certificate to carry on. Join me today as we round up today, that you will have it on the top of your mind that for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Until next week, in the 11th week, we shall be looking at the outcome of what happened March 11 and how the gubernatorial government of 37 states went through, including who is running the hard country on this mainland.